Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Feel Great with Kait podcast. I'm your host, Kaitlin Borncamp. I'm a CPA turned nutritional therapy practitioner, and I am on a mission to help more high achievers stop trading their health for their wealth so that they can die young as late in life as possible.
Mm.
I'm excited for our guest today. We have Dr. Alicia Newsome. She is a speaker, a best-selling author, and a functional medicine doctor who specializes in helping women regulate stress, balance their hormones, and optimize their energy. Welcome to the show, Dr. Alicia.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your intro.
Thank you. That story was actually inspired by my grandmother. That was her theme
Oh,
at her celebration of life party is a magnet that we printed, and the goal in life is to die as young as in life as possible.
oh, wow. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your shift because you started in conventional medicine, as I understand it. So tell us about your shift into functional medicine and how you got here.
Yeah. So I had a wellness practice. So I was always, very holistic and everything like that. I had a wellness practice, ended up meeting a functional medicine doctor. It was during a time in my life when I was going through a divorce, leaving a very volatile marriage. My kids were really little, like they were both in diapers, and I was exhausted all the time. So Sunday afternoon, I head over to a friend's house to go hang out. And as soon as I sit down on the couch, I'm asleep. They hand me my pillow and my blanket and they're like, "We got the kids, let her sleep." I was exhausted all the time. And I had lots of like neck pain, back pain, all these kind of like weird things that I had dealt with in my body, irregular cycles, had dealt with for years and years and years, and just kind of normalized a lot of it and was just pushing through, being a mom, working in my practice, doing all the things that I was doing. And then I ended up meeting a functional medicine doctor who completely changed my life, really helped me understand what was going on in my body and regain my energy, and also helped me, restore my health in so many other areas. But energy is so important, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you're a mom, you're a business owner, or even just, at work and life, like you need it to be able to get through your day. So it really changed the way that I practiced. It really changed the way that I looked at my own health and life. And from there, I didn't open up the practice that I have yet. I actually transitioned a bit into more pharmaceutical research where I managed trials all over the country in endometriosis, fibroids, women's health, cancer, and infectious disease. And I did that for many, many years and ended up, I got remarried, all the things, and kind of let my health go down a bit because I was on a plane somewhere every single week. And eating lots of good food, doing all the things. And I ended up having a miscarriage. And that miscarriage happened. I would have been, the baby would have been 17 weeks when I passed everything. And it was really hard for me. It really caused me to pause. I had already had my two kids earlier. They were much older, but it wasn't something that I expected at all. And it paused. It made me, return back to like my roots with my health. And then also what I really wanted to be doing in life. Because I always said, like, because I had been going through that divorce and I transitioned my career a bit, I was like, well, once I get myself together, I'm gonna open up a functional medicine practice and go back and do those things. I had started when I had my practice before, but just didn't have the tools and the frameworks and the systems to be able to really sit down and be with people the way you need to with functional medicine. So I ended up, closed everything up in that career, took some time off to take care of my body, and then launched the practice that I have now. And that was almost 5 years ago.
Wow, that's quite the experience, and I'm curious to know from your perspective, what was that like being a doctor yourself? Were you like, "Oh, there's like a whole other world to, the body and functional side of
Yeah.
things," or was there any revelations like that you had?
I'm always very open to learn. So, and I'm like a lifelong learner. If you saw my bookcase over here and probably the last 10 courses I've signed up for this year, like I'm always learning. So I was just always curious. It was just I was like a student, like teach me, help me, and so glad that I was open to that because it completely changed my life and now, the clients and patients that I work with.
For sure, yeah, and let's kinda go that way because I would love to learn more about You mentioned you kind of blend the science and spirituality into your work. So I'm curious to hear, what does that look like in practice with some of the clients that you work with?
So for me, stress is one of the biggest things that throw off our hormones and our health, and there's the things that we don't always consider stress, like toxins, biotoxins. Those are living things like mold, fungus, parasites. There's external toxins, things that are in our food or environment. There's nutrient deficiencies, gut health, sleep, all of those foundational things that we always think of. I take those on as those are stressors as in the body. They're physiological stressors. They're creating inflammation, all types of things. And then there's the mental emotional aspect that creates stress within as well. And a lot of that comes down to, for me, identity work, because a lot of times the things that we believe about ourselves will cause us to take action from a place that may be wounded. For me, I was previously married, and when I got back out there to start dating, my ex-husband, my friends, when I left, everybody was like, yes, like, okay, good, good, good. But I had a really good mentor that was like, even if it's like he's 97% wrong, like you always have your 3%, and you've got to deal with your 3%. Otherwise, you go out and co create the same toxic dynamics. And, for me, I had to deal with the wounded parts of me from my childhood and things that had gone on, because he wasn't the first person, the first man. There was men before him. There was things that happened to me that shouldn't have ever happened to me. Right. And what that did was it created beliefs inside of me that I wasn't enough, that I'm always alone. People always leave me, so it caused me to become like hyper independent in a lot of ways in my life, that caused me to take on so much more than I was ever called to carry. And that really creates a lot of stress in life, when we're not able to ask for help, when we don't know how to delegate things, like all of those different types of things. Or if we feel like we're not enough and we are always seeking these higher levels of like perfectionism, or we hit a goal and
Mhm.
then now it's like, but then there's the next goal, right? So that creates stress within our minds, within our bodies, and ultimately disrupts our hormones and our physiology just as much as all of those other things. So I do a lot of work with the women that I work with to really be with when you're triggered, like the types of things that come up, and then what we're believing about ourselves in those moments.
Yeah, I think that's spot on, especially the perfectionism. I've noticed in a lot of the clients I work with, like I myself am a CPA, and I would imagine
Yeah.
maybe some of your colleagues, like doctors and things, are similar in the sense of, the same traits that make us good at our job, like the perfectionism, like the
Yeah.
people pleasing, maybe even being self-deprecating in a way,
Yeah.
are the same things that add to our stress and make it hard to take care of ourselves. And I mean,
Yes.
I've seen that show up in clients. I had one woman I worked with, and we were unpacking her digestion symptoms and, trying to optimize everything. And it came out that she wasn't regular. She was regular with her bowel movements except for on the weekends. And why that matters is
Mm.
because when I asked her, I said, what's going on for you? What's different on the weekends? And she said, oh, well, we're really just so busy. I don't give myself enough time in the bathroom to go. And like my body, I feel the tension in my body. And she didn't realize that. It
Mm.
was just simply like identifying her patterns and learning to recognize. And she hadn't connected the dots to know that, like you said, she was carrying so much, and then how it kind of showed up physically in her body. So I'm curious, like what kind of patterns or symptoms do you see that are most common from, as a result of carrying too much stress?
As patterns, as far as like belief systems, or like patterns of things that I see show up in the body?
Oh, good question. Let's do both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Okay.
that.
Well, patterns that show up in the body oftentimes, or even symptoms that show up, are the low energy, trouble focusing, mid-afternoon crashes, like having to go get some shots of espresso or Starbucks or coffee shops, like all of those different types of things to like get through the day. Also, a lot of times women, stress will show up in the body with that wired but tired feeling at nighttime. So now it's nighttime and you may have been tired all day, but now it's like 10 o'clock and you're grabbing your phone and you're just like scrolling,
Mhm.
not able to go to sleep. Or you're like, well, no, I work best at night. You know, like that's when things turn on. Like, no, 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 no. There's things going on in the body. All of us were designed to sleep when it's dark outside, right?
Right.
And that's not happening. You know, there's some imbalances within the body that we need to address. So those are big things. Weight loss resistance is a big one
Mhm.
as well too. Like if the things that you're doing in the past aren't working now, you know, there's oftentimes inflammation and different things going on in the body. And then of course the digestion things that you brought up. I mean, when our body is in this constant state of stress, you know, fight or flight, you know, and there's no bear running after us, we're not in any real danger, but our body physiologically is still like does not feel safe. You know, it doesn't go into that rest, that digest, you know, what you had explained with our digestion and all of those different types of things. And then of course, women that are wanting to get pregnant, you know, if there was a bear coming after you, if you're in nature, your body, you know, you're going to fight that bear or you're going to run away so that you can get safe. And in that situation, the last thing your body would think is like, well, now's a good time to make a baby, right? It's like, no, we're trying to keep her safe right now. So even though there's no bears present, but we're experiencing different types of stressors, whether it's toxins, it's those deficiencies or those mental emotional stressors, our hormones start to, you know, they get pushed to the side based on, you know, our body's desire to keep us safe in that survival mode.
I think that's really important, and it's interesting, it's like we can't always know when we're in it,
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like, cognitively, your perception is that is the what's important, so it's hard to know if you're in that stress response, and so I know, for me and my own stress resilience, it's been helpful for me to identify, like, "Okay, I am stressed right now." Even that simple acknowledgement and recognition can
Yeah.
be everything in order to help you get out of it sooner or to help even just recognize like what led me to this situation, like is it out of my
Yeah.
control or is some of this in my control? And I know one unfortunate truth I keep coming back to is if I have too much coffee or if I have coffee before food, then my
Oh
anxiety
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
spikes, right? Which is so common. I mean, we know this, but yet I find myself like every couple weeks, like that habit will creep back up. And I'm like, yeah, I've been
Yeah.
feeling good. That sounds like a good idea. I can have 2 cups of coffee before breakfast. And then sure enough, 11:30 hits and my anxiety is so
Yeah.
high. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on? I don't really like,
Yeah.
I don't usually have anxiety, you know, normally or
Yeah.
whatever. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I know it's too much coffee. And so um,
Yeah.
I say that because I think there's probably a lot of things that we do that we don't always recognize, especially if, like we said, if you're in this stress pattern, because like
Yeah.
your brain is wired to just focus on that one thing. You can't take yourself out of it while you're in it. Um, but I'd be curious to know from you, like, what are some of your go-to, I call them stress resilience tools, but like, what are
Yes.
some of your go-to tools, either metabolic or mindset, that you like to give people to help support themselves through that?
So I think what you pointed out was so important. And one of the ways to start recognizing when we're in this stress state is to implement many of these tools. Not even many, just a couple, you know, starting the daily practice of implementing them because then our body can go into that parasympathetic state, rest, digest, all of that. And we then notice the difference, right? We're like, oh, okay. And then when we're out of it, we're like, okay, this isn't, you know, this actually doesn't feel too good. So there's some morning and evening routines that I really love. So in the morning, I'm really big about doing gratitude, writing down 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for, but not just writing them down, allowing myself to experience the gratitude. So when I think about my son, I came home the other night and he is in his Pete the Cat costume. And it's not Halloween. It's just like a Tuesday night. I come home and he's just like happy and he's like running up to me and he gives me the hug. And I'm so just thankful for him, you know, like just his innocence and his fun, all of those things. So in the morning, when I'm not even, he's still asleep, I write down those things and I allow myself, just even in that moment, how it made me happy to think about it. I allow myself to experience that gratitude, that happiness, that joy about the things that I'm grateful for. And I'm really mindful. Like I take the time to experience it, re-experience it. And I do that for 3 to 5 things. And then also I give myself 2 goals for the day, maybe 3. I don't want to overwhelm myself for the day. I can't get it all done. I used to think I could, but I can't. So I give myself 2 goals. These are the things that I'm working on getting done today. Of course, I got meetings on my calendar and all of that, but these are like the two things that I want to move forward today. So that helps keep me focused and also helps me not to be overwhelmed. Both of those help rewire the brain. They help to, focus on the future. And gratitude, there's just all kinds of science out there about like how much that does for our nervous system, our neuroplasticity, our brain, all of those different types of things. So that's the morning things that I love to do. And then also I do, I have a whole routine with prayer and meditation and all of that too. But those are the two things that I recommend that are like easy. Get those in, they make a huge difference. And then in the evening, what I recommend is a brain dump. So take 1 minute, you can work your way up to 5 minutes, and write down everything that's on your mind. So that could be your to do list tomorrow. It could be an issue that you're having with a relationship in your life. Whatever is on your mind, put it onto paper. And then, just brain dump. And I like to just turn that paper over and say, thank you, God. Like, here you go. You have this. It's out of my mind. It's on this paper. It's in his hands. And then I like doing binaural beats. So binaural beats are just like, the headphones that I have on right now. You have them in both ears. They have different frequencies that go into each individual ear, and then the brain interprets it as one. And it really helps to calm the nervous system, the mind. It helps you get into deep, deep rest as well too. So both of all of that right there, those routines make a huge difference. And I'd like to say like the biggest, bang for your buck. They're free. They're free things that you can do, but they really move the needle when it comes to activating that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest, that digest, our bodies feeling safe, doing those activities. Those are some of my favorite ones.
Yeah, those are really good. I had learned in a training years ago I did, this doctor's approach was that from a, ratio perspective, how much stress can or should our body be experiencing kind of like on a
Mhm.
daily basis. And of course, this is like an estimate, but she was saying your body is really designed, or rather, you'll function more optimally if you are in a parasympathetic state, so like a rested state for around 75% of your time, including sleep. And, that leaves a couple of hours, right? The 25% to be in that high vigilance, high stressed out. Maybe you're driving in traffic, maybe you're doing a hit class, whatever it is. But I'm curious if you've come across in your literature or just what you've seen work best for people, kind of a ratio, or, I mean, I know that's like a very open-ended question and it changes on a daily basis and everything.
Yeah.
But
I,
I think it's helpful for us to understand some sort of benchmark. Otherwise,
yeah.
I mean, I know before I got into the wellness space, when I heard stress, I was like, what is managing stress? Like, it's so
Yeah.
elusive that it's important for us to at least have something as like a goal to get to. Like, okay, I can
Yeah.
have 4 really stressful meetings in a day, but other than that, like, I'm going to be tapped out. Or I can have like 2 stressful meetings and 1 high intensity workout, or just, I don't know, something that we can get our arms around in terms of measurement.
I really I don't know the stats on that. I love that. Now I want to go. I'm probably going to go in a rabbit hole. I always tell my clients, I'm like, I go in the rabbit hole so you don't have to.
Love it.
Okay. So I'm going to go down that rabbit hole and just look at the research on that. That 75% makes sense. Is about 6 hours a day. 6 times 4. Yes,
Yeah.
24. So six
Mhm.
hours a day, which actually is a lot, like that's a lot of grace with like allowing yourself to say like, yeah, it's normal to feel a bit of stress, right? I have the Aura ring. I have the new one that's about to come out. It's going to be here on Friday. So I've been wanting that. I've had mine for like 4 years. So before they had like the gold ones and all of that. So now they have a thinner one. I like that because it does show me on a daily basis like my stress resiliency. It shows me, and it's very interesting to look at because sometimes when I think I'm stressed, or it's really just even interesting to look at my calendar, like throughout the day, what did I have going on and what put me in these states of like ease and restoration. And sometimes it is when I was on a meeting or on a podcast and things like that, or like what's actually like putting me in those stress zones. So I think data, like having direct data like that, is really good. Measuring heart rate variability is also a good one too. Heart math is a good tool that you can use to just measure your heart rate variability,
Mhm.
seeing how well you're responding to stress and changing that over time too. But I want to go down that rabbit hole to actually look at that research.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, like I said, I'm sure it's dynamic in the sense, like, if you sleep better, you'll be able to handle more stress
Yes.
easier kind of a thing. And obviously stress itself, it's different for each one of us. So there's that whole component of like what actually constitutes stress. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting way to think about it because, we also forget that like you said before, inflammation, you could be eating a food that you're allergic to that's causing inflammation and stress
Yes.
internally. And so that wasn't, somebody might be listening and thinking, oh, well, 6 hours a day. Like, no, I'm only stressed 2 hours a day. I'm good.
They're like, "I'm good."
But what about your inflammation markers? What about your
Yeah.
heartbeat? What about, like you said,
Yeah.
your HRV, I think is a really good target for people to focus on something constructively to work towards. Because then we kind of get into this mindset of like, well, how can you take away stress? Like mentally, that's a really hard answer.
Yeah.
You're like, well, my life is my life. What do I do? And so one of the things I like to focus on, definitely gratitude, like you mentioned, so underrated, but also moving towards like having fun or moving towards
Yes.
dancing or doing, for me in the last year, that's been pickleball very intentionally. And
Oh, I've been wanting to try
oh my
pickleball.
gosh, you totally should.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Okay.
It's really social. It's really good. Like it's easy to start. And
Okay.
people are usually really nice and showing you and stuff. But one thing I noticed is that in the middle of the afternoon, I would be really low energy. And then when I started playing pickleball, I just so happened to have a newfound source of energy at 5 p.m. as I'm driving my butt to the pickleball
Yeah.
place. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So energy, it's important for us to realize is also so intertwined with, the mental outlook of things of like what you get to do. Um, but the other question I was going to ask you while we're on the topic of stress, Dr. Alicia, do you have any favorite, supplements in combination with, of course,
Yeah.
diet and lifestyle supports that are your go-to for stress?
Yes, I am a big advocate of I love magnesium threonate. So there's all different types of magnesium. Some of them make you poop and, other magnesium glycinate's another nice one. It's more relaxing, but I do find that some people when they take that, especially at night, they feel groggy the next day. I love magnesium threonate. It's the only one that crosses the blood-brain barrier. And it helps with there's all types of research on it on like what it does to the brain and creating new neurons, but some of the more practical things that it does is it really helps you get into a deep REM sleep. It also helps with focus, cognition. I take it at nighttime because I just love the way, like in the morning, I wake up, my brain is like on. But my husband takes it during the day and he's like, he feels like he's zooming. It's really, really good. But the thing is about magnesium is it is one of the first thing that physiological stressors on the body, it eats up magnesium in your body. It's used for over like 300 enzymatic and you know what I'm trying to say. 300 different processes. I'm tripping over my words, but 300 different processes within the
Yeah.
in the body. So magnesium's really important. I know a lot of people love like ashwagandha, rhodiola, bacopa, a lot of those different herbs. I really like to do cortisol testing, seeing where people are with that, if they need glandulars and things like that. Also, you don't want to stay on them too long, especially ashwagandha, because it can cause this like flattening to happen as well, like almost like a two chill. But those ones are good as well too.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think the adaptogens like ashwagandha get all the hype, but magnesium, it's just
Yeah.
it's your steady partner there.
Yeah.
Everybody needs magnesium.
Yep.
And I know for me, I mean, I just love dark chocolate in general. However, I will say that when I'm consistent with my magnesium, I crave chocolate and I crave sweets less, which
Oh yeah.
really helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd love to kind of shift gears, Dr. Alicia. You have a new book coming out and
Yes.
it's called Worthy of Well-Being. So tell us about the title and tell us about, how the story behind that book.
Yes. So I have two books that are coming out. One is called Worthy of Rest, and then the other one is called Worthy of Well-Being. So I was going to release Worthy of Well-Being first, and I was like, I gotta hurry up and get Worthy of Well-Being out so I can, write Worthy of Rest and release it. And I just felt very much like in my spirit that it was like, no, Worthy of Rest first. So Worthy of Well-Being it will come out next year. It's ready. But I'm releasing Worthy of Rest first. And Worthy of Rest is written for the woman who's tired of being the strong one. We live in this culture that literally worships exhaustion. Like we get the pat on the back, the high five, we respond to one another like, how you doing? I'm busy, and it's like
Mm,
just normal, to be busy, have packed schedules, to go, go, go all the time. So my book really focuses on it's not a whole lot, it's not very science based, it's very practical. It talks a lot about the identity work around like where we may have parts of us that feel like I'm not enough or I'm all alone. People always leave me. I always got to do everything myself. Those different parts of us that come up and how to be with that part of us because that's a very real part of us that may have come somewhere from our childhood or early adult life where we have created these beliefs that we believe that they're not necessarily true though. So I talk in the book about how to really recenter ourselves and what I call the center of truth and create statements and affirmations that go along with that, but it's really the same thing with like gratitude about like really grounding into like what is truth, that I'm here on I'm here on earth to love and to be loved. Like I'm fully supported by all of life, like all of those different types of things. It's a better place to take action from and make decisions in our life from versus like these things that are what can be called like source fractures, these triggers in our life where we might be, if I'm feeling stress because I'm like I got to do everything myself, I'm not going to make the best decisions from that place versus if I'm like, you know what, there actually are people in my life that show up for me, what can I do to ask for help?
mm,
So it talks about that, and then also it talks about the different types of rest. So sometimes we may need mental rest. Our mind's been going, going, going. Sometimes we might need sensory rest where we are behind computers all day or we work in a place that there's a lot of noise or a lot of lights or we've got kids and our nervous system like our sensories we need rest or we might need emotional rest where there's things that we haven't grieved, maybe there's things that we haven't processed. Our soul might need rest. And then, of course, there's always physical rest. So I get into the different types of rest in that book as well, too.
I love that. That's so needed. I mean, I think it goes back to the people who, I mean, myself included, the things we need rest because we're doing too much or because we're trying to prove something. And it sounds like you really get at those underlying reasons as to
Yeah.
what started it or what perpetuated it from the, from the get-go and how that kind of has
Yeah.
impacted our life. But what do you have to say? Because I hear from a lot of busy professionals, quote unquote busy professionals, right? I like to call us high achieving professionals. Um,
Wow.
a lot of professionals have the mindset that rest is not productive.
Yeah.
What do you have to say to that?
That rest is not productive. Rest is necessary, whether or not we want to label it as productive or not. It's absolutely necessary. It was the way that our bodies were designed, just how earlier, like the sun goes up and the sun comes down, like we were created to sleep when it's dark outside. Also, I do have a lot of spiritual um, text references in there as well, too. So for anyone that like, take it, as you may, but, God rested, created the earth and then rested on the seventh day. Like we were created to rest. Our bodies literally need it to detox in the evening. Our brain needs to detox, our liver needs to detox. All of these different types of things happen while we're resting. And when you think about it, professional athletes, did we have this conversation, Kait, before about professional athletes?
I don't think so.
Okay. So professional athletes, they are like the top of their game, right? They are the best of the best of the best, and they don't practice every day.
Mm,
They rest. They have days where they are doing active recovery, productive rest. So there's just this mindset with high achieving, busy professionals, entrepreneurs where we just think we're supposed to go, 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 go. And I think that comes from a lot of coaching that's out there, a lot of bro coaching that's out there. A lot, and when it comes to
mhm.
women in our
Yeah.
bodies definitely were not designed to go, go, go. We have all these different phases within our menstrual cycle that really we're able to do more when we actually honor those things.
Yeah, that's such an important distinction. I think of it too as a I think it's a clear to me misalignment that we're forgetting that our bodies and brains don't always have to be going at the same time,
Yes.
meaning we can be productive while you're going to the kitchen to get a glass of water. Why? Because you can still be thinking about that task, or you can still be thinking about how to approach, that issue with your colleague, or, you can still be thinking, and science will tell us that you'll actually have more creative ideas and have different insights,
Yes.
like the whole idea in the shower concept, right? It's like
Yeah.
everybody gets these
Oh,
great ideas in the
all
shower.
the ideas come in the shower. All of
I mean,
them.
there is literally one time I looked up, there's literally a product that you can buy that it's like a little voice memo thing for your shower. So that way, like when you get an idea, it can just like record it down.
What?
Cause I'm like, it's a thing. So
It is
the
a
point, yeah, the
where
point
all my
being is
downloads
that
come.
yes, or for me, it's like when I'm walking, it's like it's when you least expect it, basically.
Yeah,
And when you're not trying to force it. And so I think it's important to remember, we have brains, like our brains are supercomputers that are working all the time.
all the
And
time.
so even if we're not physically, like in this example, at our desk, you can still be doing something. You can still be moving the work forward and still feel productive. And so that's the thought I always go back to is I'm like, I get such good clarity. One of my things that I like to do, my decompression activities, is doing puzzles, like jigsaw puzzles.
Yeah. 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 Yep.
And so I will just be like my brain is just like closing all these open tabs when I'm doing puzzles. I'm like, yeah, and this, and I figured this out,
Yes.
and like this is a metaphor for
Yes.
that. And I'm like, I wouldn't have that if I was just trying to force it, sitting down at
Yes.
my computer, quote unquote, doing the work. So there's that too.
It really comes in those rest moments, and that those moments when we allow ourselves to be still, and not necessarily like you said, like I could be taking a shower, going to get a glass of water. I love to color, and I'm doing something, but there's a certain stillness about that. It's when the nervous system relaxes, it's when the body relaxes where that clarity really comes. So, in that case, I mean, we could consider that productive rest, but I
Mhm.
also want us to just give up the idea that we have to be productive,
Fair,
like we can just not.
fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that as well. Well, Dr. Alicia, tell us, if somebody listening, if a woman listening, she's busy, she's stressed out, if she's thinking she only has about 20 minutes a day, what are one to two
Yeah.
things that you would suggest to help her?
I really, like you said, gratitude is so underrated, but it is so powerful. So taking 5 minutes in the morning, it doesn't even take 5 minutes, taking a couple minutes in the morning to really just pause, be grateful, set your intentions, and then that brain dump in the evening is very, very powerful. I think other practical things, a lot of times, many of the women that I work with, struggle with like low energy and things like that throughout the day and just trying to like push through. Having a really good savory breakfast in the morning is important. And when I say savory, I mean like not dessert for breakfast. Okay. So the standard American diet is like cereals and bagels and muffins and all of these things that are really just sugar. That's why I say dessert for breakfast. They're spiking your blood sugar, and that can send you on a roller coaster throughout the day, emotionally as well as like physically, and your energy, focus, all of those different types of things. So, really starting the morning with a nice savory breakfast. So think like good proteins, healthy fats. You could have some complex carbs in there if you do carbs. Can really help set the day very simply as well too. So that would be another simple tip that I would give.
I love that. So gratitude and a savory breakfast with
Yeah.
protein and some fiber. So helpful. Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, this has been so great having you on the show, Dr. Alicia. Tell us, where can listeners learn more and get connected with you?
Yes. So my website is dralicianewsome.com. So DrAlicia Newsome with an E. So NEWSOME.com. You can just Google me and kind of put it in there. I should come up. Same thing on all my social media outlets. So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. It's just my name. You can find me there. Feel free to DM me. I check them. I'll respond back to you personally.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And look forward to hearing and seeing your books come out.
Yes, thank you so much for having me here today.
Just a reminder that the information shared on this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended to be medical advice. It should not be used to treat, diagnose, or cure any medical condition. Always consult your physician or qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your health regimen or medications. Kaitlin Borncamp and Health Supply LLC, DBA Feel Great with Kait disclaim any liability for outcomes resulting from the use of this content.